Okay, how are y'all doing today? So we talked about density, we've done the vocab, we did some practice problems on Thursday last week, and now we're going to get even more in depth into density. So we have this thing, and it's like a triangle, and density equals mass divided by volume. So I'm going to put this up here. If you want to take these notes, I would encourage you to do so because you can use it for this assignment that we're doing here and assignments in the future. So density equals mass divided by volume, right? But the cool thing about this right here is that we can figure out the mass of something if we know the density and the volume. And we can also find the volume of something if we have the mass and the density. So this thing, this can go any which way from Sunday. So the way we would do this is I'm going to make this triangle right here. I'm just going to draw it down like so. Go ahead and make one on your paper too. There we go. And then I'm going to draw a line right here. And then I'm going to draw a line right here. Okay, so I'm going to put the mass at the top. So I'm going to put an M right there. Okay, and I'm going to put the density right there. And I'm going to put the volume right there. So this triangle right here, what this means is I can find any of these things as long as I have the other two. And the way I'm going to do that is by dividing or multiplying. So if I'm crossing this line on top, I'm going to divide. So I'm going to put a little division sign right here. And I'm going to put one over here too. So if I want to know the volume, I would just divide the mass by the density. If I want to know the density, I'm going to divide the mass by the volume. And if I want to know the mass, I'm going to multiply the density by the volume. Okay, I'm going to write this out too because sometimes this little triangle thing is a little bit confusing, and that's okay. So I'm going to give this to you a couple different ways. So if we want to know density, we already have that formula right here. So density equals mass divided by volume. Right here we've got volume equals the mass divided by the density. So it's the same formula idea, we're just moving some things around. So remember, it does matter which direction these two are in. So if you put density in your calculator first, divided by mass, you're not going to get the same number, and that number is not going to be correct. So you have to make sure you're putting them in the right direction. Okay? The next one is to find mass. Mass equals density times the volume. Okay, so volume equals mass divided by density, and mass equals density times the volume. Let's look at a couple problems and see if we can figure this out. So we're going to do number 1 together. So we did this on Friday, so we should already know. Okay, so number 1, I have it on my paper right here, but number 1 says we have a mass of 40 grams. I'm going to write it down, and then we're going to go back to the camera. And then we have a volume of 20 milliliters, and we want to know what the density is. So let's go back to my camera. We know this is the ones that we practiced before. So density equals mass divided by volume. I have our numbers written down right here from the problem. And this is how I'd like you to do it on your paper too. Okay, so mass equals 40 grams. Volume equals 20 grams, and we want to know the density. So our density formula is D equals mass divided by volume. Okay, so over here I'll put D equals and give myself a spot divided by in another spot, and then I'll have D equals, and then this is going to be my answer right here. Okay, so the mass, we've got grams. Let me turn my lights back on. Maybe. Come on, guys. There we go. Okay, we've got grams, so we know this is mass. Mass goes first because density equals mass divided by volume. So we'll put 40 in grams. This is science. We need our units. Grams are our unit. Divided by the volume, which is 20 milliliters. Okay, got to have our units there. We do that math on our calculator. We could type in 40. Let me see if I can get this underneath here for you. Oh, it's a little dirt. There we go. 40, because we need mass first, divided by 20 equals 2. So I'm going to put 2, and I'm bringing my units down, grams per milliliter. So the density of number 1 is 2 grams per milliliter. So we can go back over here, and there it is. I would select that one right there. Okay, let's look at number 2. So here we know that mass is 35 grams. I'm just writing this down on my paper. The density is 5 grams per centimeter cubed. I've got my units in there because units are important. This is science. And we want to know the volume. Okay, let's go back to our camera. We're going to work this one out. So in order to find the volume, our formula for that is right here. We're going to need volume equals mass divided by the density. So I'm going to put right down here, volume equals mass divided by the density. Okay, so just like we set this whole problem up right here, we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to have V instead of D because we're finding the volume instead of the density. So volume equals divided by, and there will be our density. Okay, and then here's our answer. So volume is going to equal. Okay, we need our mass first right here, and our mass is 35 grams. And then we'll have our density. Density's next. So we're going to write that right here. We've got 5 grams per centimeter cubed. Okay, and we would do the same thing. We're just going to put that in our calculator. So let me clear that off of there. So we need 35 divided by 5 equals 7. So what do you think our units would be for this? We need our units of measurement for volume, and that is going to be this centimeter cubed. So our unit is centimeter cubed. Okay, so number 2's answer is 7 centimeters cubed. Volume equals 7 centimeters cubed. Okay, I hope that was pretty clear. I'm going to go to a new piece of paper, and then we'll go look at question number 3. We're going to do number 3 together, and then I'm going to let you work on the rest of them on your own. Okay, so here we have density equals 7 grams per milliliter. The volume equals 10 milliliters, and we want to know the mass. Okay, so let's come back over here to our camera, and we've got mass equals density times volume. So I'm going to write that formula right over here. We need mass equals density, D, times V. Okay, so I'm going to make our setup just the same as we have for everything else, only it's going to be mass equals, I'm going to give myself a line, and I'm going to multiply instead of divide, and I'm going to give myself another line, and then my answer is going to go right there. Okay, so let's see what we have. We need the density first, and our density is 7 grams per milliliter, so I'm going to write that right here. Okay, and next we need our volume, and our volume it gave us is 10 milliliters. So all we have to do is some math on that. You can use your calculator if you want to. You don't have to if you already know what it is. We'll plug it in just to see. 7 times 10 is 70. Okay, so now we've got to have the correct units. And if you remember from our vocab and talking about anything, the unit, metric unit for mass is gram, and you see it's right here. We're just going to pull that one down. We don't need the milliliters because we don't have a volume here. All we have is a mass. Okay, so the answer to number 3, mass equals 70 grams. Okay, if you want to, you can rewind this video as many times as you need, but if you write these notes down right here on your own piece of paper, you're going to be fantastic. Okay, I want you to work all of these problems out just like we did on Thursday and just like I did on this piece of paper. When you finish with that, go ahead and take a picture of it and send it to me in an email. You're not going to be able to attach it to this assignment, but you can send it to me in an email. Okay, whenever you're finished, check the video out at the end and check all of your answers. If you have any questions, watch that video first. You have a question, email me in or ask in the questions channel, and we can get together and talk it out. But hopefully, as long as you have these notes and you're watching the videos, you should be able to do a great job figuring this out. Y'all are amazing. Thank you and have a great day.